Well, we moved our clocks to 1 hour forward this weekend for daylight saving time. Now, the time change often leads to less sleep, as you know. And a new study shows driving drowsy can have even more fatal consequences than previously thought. Joining us now to discuss the report is AAA's Robert Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair, great to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about the major headline from this AAA study. The study found that fatalities due to drowsy driving crashes are 10 times higher than traditional crash data reports. So why was there such a big discrepancy this time around?
Well, everybody in the safety community agrees that the estimates of drowsy driving are a lot lower than what they are in actuality. The problem becomes that if somebody gets into a crash, they're likely not going to admit that they were drowsy or fell asleep. And unfortunately, if you're injured or killed, you're not able to respond as to whether or not you were drowsy or fell asleep. So we did a deep dive on the number of fatalities from 2017 to 2021, looking carefully at each and every crash. And we were able to determine that 18% of the fatalities in those years were the result of drowsy driving. And that led to nearly 30,000 fatalities. And the common crash when someone falls asleep is a road departure, with estimates of upwards of 50% of those crashes were the result of drowsy driving.
Are there times that drowsy drivers are more likely to be on the road? I guess as it relates to the whole time change thing, which is what we're talking about right now, because obviously I know at nighttime you're going to have more drowsy drivers on the road. But was there a time that you saw when this I guess day on the calendar hits? Right. What did the statistics show?
Well, most drowsy driving crashes happen between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. But we see on today, Monday, that with the time change that the sun is coming up an hour later. We still have to be to work at the same time. So that means that the morning commute is likely happening in darkness for many people, and you've got an hour less sleep, and our eyesight starts to degrade at age 35. Take it from me. So if you're making that commute in darkness, it's harder to see, and it makes it more dangerous, and we're fatigued. It really takes a week for the body to recover from the time change, and we don't get that week unless we make those efforts over the weekend before.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir when it comes to that whole eyesight thing.
Sure.
Just so you know. Holy cow. Did it matter if drivers were on rural roads or on the highways?
Most of the time was the crashes were on a rural road, and those road departure crashes, the most prevalent was when a vehicle went across the center line and into oncoming traffic and had a head-on crash. 45% of those crashes, we estimate, are the result of drowsy driving. And it's interesting, in New York in 2022, there were 5,000 crashes where fatigue or driver falling asleep was the primary cause, and we estimate that that number is much, much lower. And nationwide, it was estimated that there were 684 crashes in 2021 that were the result of drowsy driving. We've ratcheted that number up to 6,725. So the numbers are much, much worse than we previously thought.
It's really incredible when you hear those numbers. So what can you do to tell drivers? I mean, what can they do aside from literally just pulling the car over and getting some rest if needed? But what would you say as far as advice for drivers to stay safe?
Yeah, certainly before you're feeling tired behind the wheel, hopefully you got enough sleep. If you're getting 5 hours or less of sleep, most sleep experts say that it's like being drunk. So you have to get at least 7 hours. You want to avoid alcohol and drugs, and those things, they tend to make you drowsy. They impair your driving, first off, but they make you drowsy afterwards. You also want to travel at times that you're accustomed to being awake. A lot of people, when they make a long trip, they want to travel during overnight hours to avoid the traffic, but that's very, very bad. And on those long trips, every hour, every 2 hours or 100 miles, you need to stop, take a nap if necessary. Before taking that nap, and we're talking about 20 or 30 minutes, if you take a caffeinated beverage, it takes about 20 or 30 minutes for that caffeine to kick in. So you drink the beverage, you take the nap, you get up, do some calisthenics, get the caffeine going, you should be alert. A quick nap works wonders.
Roll that window down, too.
Well, hopefully you don't have to do that.
Hopefully it doesn't get to that, but whatever measures you can take to stay safe. All right, yeah. Robert, great to see you. Thank you again. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right.